اجلاس اول پارلمان اروپا، بروکسل، 19 آذر 1404، 10 دسامبر 2025. همگام با مردم ایران برای صلح و امنیت جهانی. کنفرانس در روز جهانی حقوق بشر.
سخنرانی‌های ماتئو رنزی، نخست وزیر ایتالیا 2014-2016. لیولوکا اورلاندو، عضو کمیسیون خارجه پارلمان اروپا از ایتالیا، معاون گروه رابطه با کشورهای مشرق زمین. آندری گواچوف، عضو هیئت رئیسه پارلمان اروپا از بلغارستان. بینی، نایب رئیس کمیسیون زنان و برابری در پارلمان اروپا، عضو هیئت رئیسه گروه رینیو، رئیس دادگاه قانون اساسی لیتوانی 2014-2021. پکا تووری، عضو کنفرانس رؤسای هیئت‌ها در پارلمان اروپا از فنلاند، رئیس هیئت رابطه با اوکراین در پارلمان اروپا. پائولو کازاکا، نماینده پیشین پارلمان اروپا.
ماتئو رنزی: ضعف رژیم ایران امروز باور نکردنی است. اکنون زمان اقدام و فراخوان برای اقدام است، زیرا الان زمان ضعف تهران است. من 10 سال پیش زمانی که نخست وزیر بودم در تهران بودم. ما هر نوع تلاشی را برای استفاده از راه دیپلماتیک برای میانه رو کردن این رژیم به کار بستیم و اکنون باید بپذیریم که این کار غیر ممکن است. ما باید جنبشی مانند جنبش شما خانم رجوی را تشویق کنیم که در داخل و خارج از ایران تلاش می کند تا پیامی از اعتبار و امید بدهد. زیرا در این دوران تحول جهانی، صلح در ایران و صلح در خاورمیانه به ثبات و تغییر در ایران بستگی دارد.
Thank you. Thank you, Madame Rajavi. My dear friend, Prime Minister Verhofstadt, dear friends of European Parliament. I think it's very great to stay together here in the European Parliament to celebrate this day. I love the optimism of my friend Guy about the next celebration next year or maybe 2027, but it's important to give a message very clear. We live chaotic times. It's unbelievable if you think. In the last years, a lot of change around the world. And these papers we have in our table with the number of execution, with the report of the last events in the last days, 46 people killed in the prisons of Tehran in the last 5 days. Remember to us how is brutal the Iranian regime. But this brutal regime is a signal of probably this is the most incredible period for the Iranian regime. Weakness of Iranian regime is incredible today. This is time to act and to call the act, because this is the time of weakness for Tehran. The problem, of course, is what type of intervention. I'm witness in the last 10 years of the efforts of international community, G7, European countries, global community. We tried to discuss with the Iranian regime. I was in Tehran 10 years ago as prime minister when I was in the office. We did every type of efforts to try to use diplomatic way and moderate this regime. And now we have to admit that is impossible. So the real question is what type of challenge we have today to avoid this is simply a celebration or a great moment to say ciao. We have two alternatives. The first, bombing from abroad. We saw this is impossible. It's not sufficient. It didn't work. It's not the way. The alternative, maintain an approach as politically correct. The last 10 years also we did. Both are not good ways. So we have to encourage a movement, as your movement, Madame Rajavi, tried to do inside Iran and outside, to give a message of credibility and hope, because in this global time of change, peace in Iran, peace in Middle East depends on the stability and the change in Iran. We understood what happened in the last years for Hezbollah, for Hamas, for Houthi, and for all the proxy who Iranian regime financed. But now it's time to consider the priority of Tehran as the number one, to change finally the long war inside the Middle East area. And I conclude exactly with that. If we look about the last 10 years, Guy, we were together in a different role 10 years ago. I remembered what happened in Brussels, in Paris, in the most important cities and capitals in the European Union 10 years ago. Terrorism arrived from everywhere, also inside our cities. Starting from Middle East, but using the people who lived in Molenbeek or in another banlieue in this city or in the other cities. What happened? Happened the lack of politics from international institutions allowed to the international terrorism to have a green light also inside our cities. Because we don't block in Middle East. Now, 10 years ago, a lot of things are changed in the part of Middle East, in some regions of Middle East, but we have Iran as the most important problem. Iran is the place of creation of one of the most important civilizations of the history. Iran has to be the next frontier. And I finish, Madame Rajavi, with a message of hope, because you can look, I have to turn, the images not only of a very great number of people with you here, but also, Leluca knows what I see, the images of an Italian leader, an Italian statesman, a great Italian man, Alcide de Gasperi. Alcide de Gasperi was the man during fascism who maintained the light of resistance. And he was the prime minister after World War II, after the end of fascism, and he had a very terrible job, because starting from the war to rebring Italy in the international community. He was a great leader and he saved our country. I hope the presence of this event in a room dedicated to him could help not only everyone to try to do the best in our experience as politicians, but also Iranian people, because the presence of the message of Alcide de Gasperi is a message for everyone of you. you can come back to light after decades of dark lights. Thank you so much.
Bravo.
لیولوکا اورلاندو. سازمان مجاهدین خلق 60 سال است که برای دموکراسی با دیکتاتوری شاه و استبداد مذهبی آخوندها مبارزه کرده است. هزاران شهروند تأکید می‌کنند سازمان مجاهدین و شورای ملی مقاومت به رهبری خانم رجوی تجسم مبارزه مردم ایران که توسط زنان رهبری می‌شود هستند. این رهبری بر تعهد به برابری و عدالت تأکید دارد که پاسخی قدرتمند به استبداد و زنستیزی رژیم است و این جنبش را در خاورمیانه از اهمیتی ویژه برخوردار می‌سازد.
Thanks. Madam Rajvi, dear colleagues and friends, human rights have been under continuous assault in Iran since the 1979 revolution. The reality is that the regime has maintained power by waging a constant war against its citizens, particularly women, committing atrocities that amount to crimes against humanity and even genocide, as documented by UN experts and the fact-finding mission. But significantly, in Iran's case, an organized resistance exists despite decades of repression, offering hope to millions of Iranians for justice and democracy. I wish to say all my appreciation for your civil courage. Thanks. Thanks. In this scenario, MPS are meeting National Council of Resistance of Iran, led by its president-elect, Madame Rajvi, who have several times in the past decades been officially hosted by the European Parliament, and who declared a remarkable commitment to human rights and democracy. Thousands of citizens risk their life working tirelessly on behalf of the Iranian people and their democratic aspirations, and we have to support all them for their efforts for a free Iran. The PMOI has fought for democracy for 60 years, opposing both the Shah dictatorship and the mullahs' religious tyranny. Thousands of citizens, I repeat, thousands of citizens, PMOI and the NSCI led Madame Rajvi underline that they embody the Iranian people's fight, with the women leading the resistance movement. This leadership and empowerment of women underlines commitment to equality and justice that stands as a powerful counter to the regime's tyranny and misogyny, and make the movement particularly important in the whole Middle East. We all know that when the regime continues to attack the democratic opposition and tries to demonize them, this tactic is useless because it means that they are afraid. They are afraid of them. They are afraid of you. And we want to stay actually on the right side of the history. Despite decades of hardships, declare the intention to remain unwavering in their principles, spearheading the fight for a democratic republic in Iran. They have consistently warned that the regime is neither willing nor able to reform, and that the export of fundamentalism and the global terrorism is the whole side of the regime's domestic repression. The Iranian resistance reacted both appeasement and war, advocating instead for a third option, a democratic change by the Iranian people and their organized resistance. But instead of listening to this democratic alternative, the West bought into the illusion of reforms in Iran, which resulted only in the regime establishing the entire region and now posing a serious threat to European democracy and security. The European Union must stop today's silence, and must change policies and support the Iranian people and their representatives. I join my colleague in calling for human rights accountability, urging the referral of the regime's abuses to the Security Council to ensure justice. We will not stop supporting the political prisoners, particularly those on death row, and we will do everything in our power to help save them. Thanks and best wishes to the Iranian people, to NSC High, to Madame Rajavi, to all of us. Thanks.
آندری گوواچوف به رسمیت شناختن قتل عام 30,000 زندانی سیاسی در سال 67 در قطعنامه کمیته سوم مجمع عمومی سازمان ملل گامی حیاتی برای پایان دادن به مصونیت رژیم از مجازات و ضرورت فوری برای پاسخگو کردن عاملان آن است. در حال حاضر 18 زندانی سیاسی با خطر اعدام روبرو هستند. من نیز این احکام اعدام و موج اعدام ها را که با هدف سرکوب هر گونه مقاومت سازمان یافته انجام می شود محکوم می کنم. خانم رجوی، آلترناتیو دموکراتیک شما به طور فزاینده‌ای از سوی جناح‌های مختلف سیاسی در این پارلمان به رسمیت شناخته می شود. ما برای یک ایران آزاد و دموکراتیک قاطعانه در کنار شما و مردمتان ایستاده ایم.
Dear Madam Rajavi, dear friends, dear colleagues, dear friends from free and democratic Iran. It's a honor for me to welcome you again here in the European Parliament, especially on this International Human Rights Day, to hear your clear statements about the future of Iran and what we, the EU, can do to address the human rights crisis in Iran and support human rights and democracy in your country. I congratulate you and your movement for raising awareness about the almost 2,000 massacres of 30,000 political prisoners, which is now recognized in the General Assembly Third Committee resolution. This marks a crucial first step towards addressing the regime's impunity and the urgent need for accountability. We are alarmed by the recent confirmation of death sentences against 7 political prisoners, all supporters of the democratic opposition. Currently, 18 political prisoners face imminent execution for similar charges. I join my colleagues in condemning these death sentences and the surge in executions which aim to suppress any kind of organized resistance. However, brave resistance units and political prisoners stand alongside your campaign to halt these atrocities and executions. Madam Rajavi, dear Madam Rajavi, your democratic alternative is increasingly recognized across parties lines in this parliament, and we stand firm with you and your people for a free and democratic Iran. I urge also the European authorities and European Council to support your call for a referral of the regime's deportable human rights records to the United Nations Security Council. This is essential for securing the prosecution of those responsible for crimes against humanity and obtaining arrest warrants for officials who threaten both your people and our common security. And very soon, I hope to see a free and democratic Iran. Thank you very much.
بینی و ظالماس. اعلامیه جهانی حقوق بشر حق شورش علیه استبداد و ستم را به عنوان آخرین راه کار برای مردم ایران نیز به رسمیت می‌شناسد. اتحادیه اروپا باید شرکای خود را در سازمان ملل برای ایجاد یک سازوکار پاسخگویی و ارجاع پرونده هولناک نقض حقوق بشر در ایران به شورای امنیت فرا بخواند.
Thank you. Dear Madam Rajavi, honorable colleagues, dear friends, distinguished guests. It is an honor to be with you, namely on the day, International Human Rights Day. Today we have to direct our attention to Iran, where the struggle for human rights is urgent and ongoing, and where the rule of law is absent, as the judiciary is an extension of a state repressive system. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted on this day in 1948, serves as a global standard for human rights. It codifies, first of all, the right to life, as well as the catalogue of all human rights. It also recognizes that it is also, as a last resort, the right to rebel against tyranny and oppression. In October, the Independent International Fact-Finding Commission on Iran published its 2025 report, which noted a worrying rise of executions in violation of international law. It also should be noted that the discrimination against women and girls is systematic. Violence and misogyny are institutionalized. As a network of 27 agencies suppresses Iranian women by enforcing the mandatory hijab, as National Council of Resistance of Iran Women's Committee reveals in report in 2020. I fully agree that the deeds of the Iranian regime should be assessed as the crimes against humanity under international law, and probably also with genocidal intent. As the fact-finding mission expert Max Duplessis stresses in connection to the October report, if executions are part of a widespread attack against a civilian population, those responsible may be held accountable for crimes against humanity. The evidence gathered and documented by the fact-finding mission, the Special Rapporteur on Iran, Amnesty International, as well as testimonies of survivors, victims, and their families, show that it is exactly the case of Iran. The European Union, therefore, must act as a crucial advocate for human rights. It can mobilize partners at the UN to establish accountability mechanism and to refer Iran's appealing human rights dossier to the Security Council. Member States should also consider investigating the Iranian regime's crimes under universal jurisdiction where possible and provided by national law. The EU must also support Iranians striving for a democratic future. The platform of National Council of Resistance, articulated by the President-elect Maryam Rajavi, expresses the true aspirations and will of the Iranian people for democracy, justice, and the rule of law, emphasizing also accountability through international standards, and it deserves EU's recognition and endorsement. Together, we can hope to end this ongoing human rights crisis and restore the democratic ruling in Iran. Thank you.
پکاتوری. در ایران در میان سختی‌ها نیروی قدرتمند ظهور کرده است. کانون‌های شورشی سازمان یافته مجاهدین خلق که به سرعت در میان نسل جوان ایران در حال گسترش هستند. شبکه‌های منضبط که تحت نظارت غیرقابل تصور و خطرات مرگبار فعالیت می‌کنند. شجاعت کانون‌های شورشی، اقدامات هماهنگشان در ده‌ها شهر و اعتراضات نمادین در حمایت از اعتصابات سراسری توانایی سازمانی آنها را نشان می‌دهد. این یک ناآرامی خودجوش نیست، بلکه یک مبارزه سازمان یافته برای تغییر دموکراتیک است. ایران نه با ارتش‌های خارجی آزاد خواهد شد و نه با توافق‌های تجاری. تغییر توسط مردم ایران و مقاومت سازمان یافته‌ای حاصل خواهد شد که 60 سال فداکاری را از سر گذرانده. به همین دلیل راه حل سوم خانم رجوی تنها سیاست معتبر و مسئولانه است. آینده ایران نمیتواند بازگشت به یک خودکامگی دیگر در قالب سلطنت باشد. مردم ایران تمایلی به بازگشت به هیچ شکلی از خودکامگی چه با تاج و چه با عمامه ندارند. ایرانیان یک جمهوری دموکراتیک مبتنی بر جدایی دین و دولت می‌خواهند، نه چیزی کمتر.
Madam Rajvi, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, as someone who has spent a lifetime in army defending democratic societies against authoritarian threats, I speak with absolute clarity. The time has come to support the Iranian people and their organized democratic resistance in bringing an end to the rule of mullahs. For more than 4 decades, the regime in Tehran has governed through fear, repression, and relentless violence. Iran today is witnessing one of the darkest periods of state brutality. In recent weeks alone, we have seen the reconfirmation of death sentences for political prisoners condemned solely for alleged ties to the democratic opposition. Some were granted trials lasting mere minutes. Let me be clear, this is not a government in control. It's a regime in crisis. Iran faces economic collapse, soaring inflation, water system near a point of no return, and an environmental catastrophe where toxic air forces school closures across 20 provinces. A regime that burns fuel with sulfur levels hundreds of times above legal limits is not governing, it's surviving and barely at that. Yet amid this hardship, a powerful force has risen. The organized resistance units of the PMOI expanding rapidly, especially among Iran's younger generation. These are disciplined networks operating under unimaginable surveillance and lethal risks. Their courage, coordinated actions across dozens of cities, symbolic protests, supporting nationwide strikes demonstrates organizational capability. This is not a spontaneous unrest. It's a structured struggle for democratic change. As Ms. Mariam Rajavi has reminded us, neither appeasement nor foreign intervention can bring change to Iran. We have tried both. Decades of negotiations only strengthen the regime's machinery of repression, and military confrontation, no matter how precise, cannot deliver freedom to a people. Iran will not be liberated by foreign armies nor by trade deals. Change will come from within, from the Iranian people and the organized resistance that has endured 60 years of sacrifice. This is why Ms. Rajavi's third option is the only credible and responsible policy. Support the Iranian people and the organized resistance movement to overthrow the regime themselves. Not war, not appeasement, support for democratic alternative. Let me also address another point with clarity. The future of Iran can't be returned to another autocratic in form of monarchy. The Iranian people have no desire to go backwards to any form of autocracy, whether wearing a crown or turban. Iranians want a democratic, secular republic, nothing less. Colleagues, I say with certainty of a former soldier and the conviction of a Democrat. The mullahs will be toppled, not because we wish it, but because Iran's society is ready, organized and determined, and Iranian people want democracy. Europe must now decide whether it stands with tyranny or with the Iranian people who fight for freedom. Let us choose the right side of history, and let us stand with the people of Iran until the day they achieve the democratic republic they deserve. Thank you.
پائولو کازاکا: ما در کنار خود کسی را داریم که منشور کهن کوروش را در کشورش احیا خواهد کرد و ایران را به نمادی از انسانیت در سراسر جهان تبدیل خواهد نمود.
Thank you very much, dear Madam President Mariam Rajavi, dear members of the European Parliament, dear former colleagues, Richard Czarniecki, a very good friend that accompanied most of the time when, over 20 years ago, I co-founded this Friends of a Free Iran. It is a tremendous joy for me to see that this organization, this movement is ever more powerful, ever more united and determined into helping the Iranian people to achieve what is their fundamental rights, the right to freedom, the right to democracy, the right to end this totalitarian regime that is the #1 in the world executing its people per capita. It is absolutely outrageous that in our day such a regime is openly executing people for a variety of reasons, namely for having a different opinion from their own. It is absolutely unacceptable, and I am really very thankful to all of you that continue and put this struggle ever stronger than before. I heard today one of what I think should be the most important tools we should use in the short run. 2 blacklists, to make a sanction regime of all those who are implicated in these crimes. These judges, these prosecutors, these people that are implicated, they are criminals. They are criminals against humanity. They are absolutely, they should be targeted everywhere in the world. We should not spare them. And we should clearly say, listen, you have been killing people. We are pointing this out. We will put you into trial sooner or later. And this will be, I am certain, a very important tool in helping the struggle of the Iranian people under the leadership of Madam Rajavi. We are celebrating the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and of course, to celebrate it means to make a clear statement, a clear pledge for freedom and democracy in Iran. It's the most important step we have in front of us. And we do know we have with us someone that I am absolutely certain is the person that will revive this old cylinder of Cyrus in our country and will make of our country a symbol of humanity all over the world. Thank you so much for this invitation.